Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, then run it back. Run it up, run it back. Run it up, then run it back.
We're back. Good morning. Welcome to Run It Back. Lou, Will, Chandler P. My name's Michelle. Boogie will be he'll be joining us from abroad here, maybe in several days, which is crazy to me to say that he'll be in Mongolia. But it's crazy. I can't wait to see what's outside his window. We have games finally. There are going to be 10 games tonight. There will be basketball to watch this evening. Hope you got caught up on all the other things that you had to do in the last 48 hours because it's now full throttle ahead. All things second half, which we really need to do a better job of renaming. But let's get to it. So we got some questions. We're going to start tackling these things. Let's start with the Thunder. Obviously, the defending champs. Everyone looks to them as possibly to repeat. Chandler, I'll start with you. The number one reason why they would not repeat is what?
I mean, they're pretty elite when you look all the way around. They're so balanced. They're so deep. They're top heavy. They know their roles and they compete extremely hard every single night. To me, the X factor is Jalen Williams. When you look at last year, their run, how good they were, that finals run, the playoffs, he upped his game. He's got to be able to do that this year, and he's only played 26 games. So he's kind of been in and out of the lineup. It's the first time he's really dealt with some nagging injuries that has kept him off the floor. And we know how special he is and how good of a two-way player he is when he's on the floor. But they've never kind of had the adversity in the last couple of years, the little routes that they've been in this year. And I think it honestly makes them better. I think it makes them more battle tested. I think it makes them go deeper in their bench. They've had real surprises like AJ this year, who's probably the favorite for most improved player. So I think it's simply health. And I think it's just the impact that Jalen Williams, can he be that all NBA type player, all defensive type player, and can he stay healthy and play, the majority of the games on the second half of the season? Because now it gets interesting, right? Now guys are either playing for position, guys are board watching, guys are watching the seedings, and everyone's going to be chasing the Thunder. So they're going to get everyone's best shot, but Jalen Williams comes down to me to be a huge X factor of this team because statistically they're through the roof. They're top 5 in everything. I think the only thing they're bad at is offensive rebounding. They're 29th in offensive rebound. It's because they usually don't miss. So they have the least amount of opportunities to get offensive rebounds. So statistically they're elite. Depth-wise they're elite. They have their star SGA, who's the favorite for MVP. It's going to come down to Jalen Williams for me.
Jalen Williams. All right, Lou. Got a different answer?
Not so much. I'm on the same side as Chandler. Not specifically Jalen Williams, but just them to be able to be healthy and moving throughout the season and get everybody back. Let's see how this abdominal strain, how it affects Shea when he comes back into the lineup. This has been the first season, in the last few that we've kind of seen them go through some adversity, different guys in and out of lineups. And it's been their main guys. Jalen has missed, a substantial amount of time throughout this season. Now SGA missed 2 weeks leading up to the All-Star weekend. You had Chad and you had Caruso missing some spot dates here and there. That's going to be the concern if they can get everybody on the same page. And not only that, but continue to build that chemistry that we're used to seeing them have. We were taking bets at the beginning of this season that they were going to be a team to, have an opportunity to go out there and get that winning record and try to win a championship as well. Now that that's out the window, we kind of seen this team look human a little bit. So for me and Chandler as well on the same page, I think it's just going to come down to who they can have available going into this last stretch of the season and what they can put together, and they can build that chemistry to repeat again.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys, this is the fun part, just across the board. Doesn't have to be West. It can be all over, but who's the biggest threat, Lou, to stopping
to me? To me, it's got to be Denver, right? Denver is the team that's been in the running already, that's already won a championship. And we talked about depth. We talked about having all of those different positions. On their bench, they got 3 really good pros that can go out there, that can carry you for long periods of time throughout games. With Tim Hardaway Jr., you got Valanciunas coming off the bench. You got Bruce Brown, who's come back to Denver because of the way he was able to play. Peyton Watson is another guy that's going to be able to give them depth. And I'm not even talking about, their 2 all-star caliber guys. Jamal Murray, this being his first year as an all-star. They can do a lot to your confidence in the second half of a season. We know what Jokic brings to the table. So from top to bottom, they have all the different pieces. So if I'm looking at the West, and I'm looking around at all of the talent that Houston has, uh, Denver has, as well as San Antonio, and Lakers are probably going to make a push here. All of those teams, I trust Denver the most. I trust them the most, 100%. To be the one team that's going to be a threat to the OKC. Other than that, I think the rest of these teams, they still got a lot of different things that they got to work through to get me to trust them in that way. So, I think Denver is going to be that team for me.
Yeah, I mean, Denver's obviously that's an obvious pick for me. They just took them to Game 7, last year. It's the only time pretty much the all season long that SGA might not be the best player on the floor when he's going up against Denver and Nikola Jokic. So I think that presents a challenge. San Antonio, I mean, it's hard not to look at them, right? They've had their number all season long, pretty much, besides maybe 1 or 2 games. And they are right there, and they are in that same category as this young kind of rising star team that's not going anywhere. You look at the Houston Rockets, the Lakers, those teams are competitive and talented, but the Western Conference is so stacked. Like, let's say they draw a Clippers or a Phoenix first 1 versus 8. That's not going to be any slouch. So I think they're going to be battle tested the rest of the season, and they're going to have to go through some monsters to even get to the Western Conference Finals, which they are more than capable of doing. They're obviously the favorite to do so, but it's Denver and San Antonio to me, because Wemby presents a challenge that no one else does, and so does Jokic when you look at San Antonio and you look at Denver.
Yeah. And we're talking about them matching up to just OKC. Like, I'm looking at these teams, they got to go through some things before they even get to OKC. So that's what I'm looking at as well. Like, we're looking at a San Antonio team, their first round matchup will be a Phoenix right now. I still like them in a matchup with Phoenix, but Phoenix has played, really good basketball and put themselves in a position to be a competitive first round for San Antonio. So you look at those things. You look at even Denver. They're gonna have to go through Minnesota. A Houston Lakers matchup at 4 and 5. Those are the first round matchups that we're looking at. So if you're looking around the league, I like a lot of these teams to match up with OKC, but man, they got to go through it before they even start having that conversation for real.
Yeah. We love a Denver-Minnesota matchup. We already love that.
Minnesota, I didn't even mention them. Like,
I was going to say, that's a big one. Dang, this is going to be hard, y'all. I think that's the analysis everyone's looking for. This is going to be really, really hard. The SGA MVP thing, it seems basically all but over, especially if you look at sort of the way the FanDuel Sportsbook, all the bookmakers are looking at it, because he's way ahead. Now, I'm asking you, because is there a world in which somebody else takes away the MVP, Lou? Could you see that happening? Look at how much it jumps up from Jokic to the next guy.
Crazy odds.
And you know what? I'm gonna skip Jokic, because we're so used to having this conversation with it being a 2-man race in SGA and Joker, right? But I think Cade Cunningham is the guy that can be a surprise pick that can put his name in this conversation. The way that Detroit has been able to play this year, he's obviously been the best player. He's obviously been the surprise and the Cinderella story of what's been going on in the league and what they've been able to do as a collective in Detroit. And he's been that guy. And so because of that, I feel like you got to put Cade Cunningham in that conversation. You got to put him in that conversation with Jokic and SGA as well, simply because of what Detroit has been able to do. Now, we always have these arguments about, is it about winning? Is it about individual stats? Is it about, well, it's about everything. It's about a collective opportunity to do all of these things at one time. And Cade has been the one consistent guy in this conversation that's been able to do that for himself and for his team and pushing them forward. So if I'm making a case for anybody outside of SGA to overtake that, and if Jokic is obviously in that conversation, I kind of lump those guys together. It's definitely going to be Cade Cunningham for me, because of the fact of what he's been able to do for himself this year and making history, and what he's been able to do for this team thus far in this season as well.
Put a dollar on Cade, man. Come on.
I totally agree. Look, he just missed 2 weeks SGA, so knock on wood, he's healthy and can overcome this and get back on the floor. But barring a big injury, I think it's going to be SGA's to lose. But I agree with Lou. Cade Cunningham is so valuable to that team. I think they're a 1 seed with him, and I think they're a play-in team without him. Like, I think that much impact he creates. He's that good of a closer. He's that good both sides of the floor. I think he is the most valuable player to their team. Like, the Thunder, no knock on SGA. He's unbelievable. He's got my vote. You take him off the Thunder, they're still a really, really good, deep team, and they have other guys that can carry you, and you know, the Chets, the Jalen's, like, those guys can kind of take on that offensive load. There's no one even close on that Detroit Pistons team that can do what Cade Cunningham does. Now, they can still out-tough you. They can still play hard. They're still going to defend and lock you down in the half court. And I think the Pistons are even going to get better in the playoffs when the game slows down and it's more in the half court, and put the ball in Cade Cunningham's hands, and he's going to make plays, and he's going to work on both sides of the ball. Dude averages a steal and a half a game, so he's not just this offensive juggernaut who just, you know, takes bad shots and scores a bunch of points. He's so balanced. 27 double-doubles, like he rebounds, he passes, he does it all. So again, we always talk about how do they vote? Like, what is they looking at? Obviously, they're going to look at the record and the wins. Well, these guys are 40 and 13, 40 and 13. Yep. Number 1 in the East. Like, why aren't we looking at Cade Cunningham as MVP?
You know,
here's
another
why.
thing, Chandler?
I think narrative. I think that we, as the collective talking heads group, we get caught up in sort of, it's a borderline brainwash. I hate to call it such because we have that really happening in real life, but like, it just feels like we're just stuck now in Jokic SGA territory, that we're not ready to let someone else in, when reality, I think he should be in this conversation.
I think we just know that SGA and Jokic are the best players in the NBA. So we have that in the back of our mind when we're voting. But if you look at the record, like, they're more of a gap from the 1 to 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. So they're dominating their conference more so than OKC is. He's more consistent. He's on the floor more. Like, there's no holes in his game. Why aren't we really looking at him?
Here's another thing to consider too. They're coming out of this break without Durant and without Stewart. If they can keep rolling without 2 of their main guys in their muscle, and Cade Cunningham is the reason for that, he's got an opportunity for in the next 10 to 14 days to create some separation in this conversation for himself as well. So, hey, listen, if Detroit come out of this break guns blazing, that puts him in a better, that changes these odds right here that we're looking at. That makes it a lot more interesting if he can keep this team afloat with the guys that he has out of the lineup, and for them to be able to be, I got mumbles today, but if he can still be successful out of that, another word we created. But if he can do that, that even makes this thing even worthwhile as just as much as anybody else.
Plus 14.
All right, someone in a free state. That's plus 14. Thank you. If you're in a free state currently, hit me up. I got a 20. I can Venmo you. I won't go ahead and put that on Cade. I feel like there's something there, and I don't want to miss out on it. Especially if, like Lou said, they come out guns a-blazing, and all of a sudden those numbers change a little bit because people start to go, oh, wait a minute. Speaking of the East, do we all agree Detroit's coming out of the East? Because this still feels like a real conversation that people are not in agreement that it's again, look, right there. The numbers even say it. Where are we, guys? Chandler, I'm Detroit.
The odds to win the East, them not being the favorite, is just straight disrespect. Like,
it's hella disrespect.
What else do they have to do now? As like if I was a gambling,
I was about to say, what's your pick though, Chandler?
I know. What are you about to say? As the brain of the group, because that would have been weird.
The Cavs are sneaky, and they had just about the worst start that I could possibly imagine, right? And they are still right there in the thick of things. They're still not playing their best basketball. You go and add a James Harden, and now all this doubt about the issues with Garland and Mitchell and who's going to have the ball and who's their guy, who's the franchise piece, who's going forward. Obviously, we always known that was Donovan Mitchell, but there's no more question of if that's going to work or not. And it's just a guy that can help you win more right now. And I love Darius Garland, and I love him in LA. But I think James Harden makes them better. James Harden makes Jared Allen better. James Harden makes Evan Mobley even better. And I think they have all the pieces. They have the talent. They're also super deep. They have such good shooting. They got Dennis Schroeder. Like they won the trade deadline to me, which automatically makes them, I think, kind of jump. But I would pick the Pistons still. Like, I think the Pistons, no matter what, when offense is going for you, shots are falling, the Pistons can still beat you. When that happens to these other teams, Cleveland, New York, they're not as tough. They're not as defensive-minded. When their offense goes south, their game goes south. Pistons, it doesn't matter. They're the most consistent, toughest team. So if I had to pick one,
you do.
It's the Pistons.
You only get one.
It's the Pistons, but I'm taking the Cavs over the Knicks. I'm taking the Cavs over Philly. I'm taking the Cavs over Boston. I'm taking the Cavs over all of them.
What is happening? By the way, the irony here is that all I want to do is I want to play that James Harden meme where he just rolls his eyes and walk off. That's the irony, because that's how I feel about all that.
And when Chandler's done, I disagree. I still think Boston is the most dangerous team in the East. I still think outside of Detroit, Boston is the most dangerous team in the East. You go add Vooch at the All-Star deadline, and we're also hearing rumblings about Jason Tatum being cleared for 5-on-5, and he's spending time with the G League team. Now, you know, when a guy gets assigned to the G League, we're weeks out. That's a weeks out conversation. Now, I don't know how much time that they take to allow him to get back on his feet and be comfortable with putting him in the lineup. But any team that adds a Vucevic and a Jason Tatum to their lineup with about 25 or so games to go left in the season, and they're already playing great basketball with what they have on the floor already, I think that makes them the most dangerous team. And you're talking about a team that has a chip on their shoulder that wants to prove something. You know, we're making a big deal out of Detroit and the Detroit culture and what they've been able to do. Well, Boston has created a culture as well. And them being left out of a lot of these conversations, I know that Jaylen Brown and the rest of those guys are pissed off. Down to their head coach. The way that they like to fight and be a part of these conversations, I know they're looking at everybody like, if y'all are going to sleep on us, we're just going to sneak up on you and we're going to do what we do best. And I think and I think that's what Boston has been able to do. So I'm putting them in that conversation.
And I'll say this too. Jaylen Brown's been unbelievable. He's another guy that I should be
That's
up on.
That's another guy we can put in that conversation as MVP. Yeah.
Let them go on a little heater here in 123 out of 25 and take the number 1 seed. Now you're starting to hear Jaylen Brown in those talks as well, because no Tatum, no Porzingis, no Holiday. I'll be honest. I thought this team was going to be a 5 to 8 seed in the Eastern Conference.
That's how they started. But that's how they started.
They've overexceeded everyone's expectations. Obviously, Derek White's been solid. Pritchard's been solid. Adding a Vucevic. Sam Hauser's been great. But Jaylen Brown should also be in those MVP talks, because he has been the best player on that team by far. And he showed there's no doubt I'm a number 1 option, even when Jason Tatum comes back.
It's going to be interesting, those first few games.
They got Vooch and Pritchard coming off the bench right now, right? Imagine if Jason Tatum comes back and he's coming off the bench as well. We're looking at a Boston team with a first group and a second group that can rival anybody else's starting lineups. That makes them dangerous to me. I'm sorry. Like, I know what Cleveland was able to do with adding James Harden and giving them another playmaker, but you talk about the balance of a team. I love what Boston was able to do at the break.
And think about,
I'm still shocked by that, Cleveland.
Would you rather Vucevic or Porzingis?
Me personally, I'd rather Vooch.
Yeah,
literally.
me too.
So they got better. So they literally ended up getting better.
Yeah, you're the one out here talking Cleveland. Nobody else is talking crazy like that.
Cleveland
You and whoever made up these numbers.
They're just like the ex-girlfriend. I just can't let go.
I mean, it sounds like you're all in Cleveland. There's nothing's wrong with that.
No, I think there's a lot wrong with it, actually.
They're a good ball club.
You're not feeling it, Leeds? You don't believe in it?
I got burned last year in the playoffs, and all you did was add James Harden, whose playoff history is also not stellar. So I don't know why all of a sudden they jump up to the top, but hey, that's why I do this and I don't do that. There's a reason for that. By the way, we poo-poo on the East a lot. There are some numbers up here I'm about to get into that are kind of fascinating to me, because I'm starting to think maybe we're underestimating the East just a wee bit, because East teams versus West teams, especially these guys at the top, have kind of crushed Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland, Toronto tied, Philly, Orlando, Miami. They all have winning records against West teams, Lou. Did we maybe do them a bit of a disservice?
Yeah, I think they were just off to a slow start. I think when, just on paper and when you look at the eye test, the West they just feel like they had better teams, right? And then the East, it was kind of a balance of competitive nature over there in the East, and everybody was just beating everybody. You really didn't know who's who. As we got later into that first half of the season, it kind of started to sort itself out. You know what I mean? Detroit kind of took that number 1 spot. They created some separation, and then we start building out from there. And I think that's what kind of made us a little iffy about the East, is we really didn't know who was who, because All of those teams went through something. Boston went through something early. New York went through their struggles early. Cleveland were going through their struggles. We really didn't know who's who. Like, think about how we started this season. We started this season talking about the Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks in the East. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about those two teams.
Feels like a long time ago, Lou.
It feels like ages ago, right? We were talking about those two teams leading the East, and then once everything kind of settled in, and we can evaluate and analyze what's really going on in the East, then you start giving teams their proper respects. Now I think it's more of a balance and it's more of a respect factor from the East to the West and them competing against each other, opposed to when we first started this conversation in the season. So I think that was the main thing.
The Eastern Conference it's been a roller coaster, right? Like Lou just said, the Chicago Bulls and Josh Giddey being an all-star and the Atlanta Hawks, like they were like the teams. I thought the Orlando Magic were going to be very good. They've struggled. Philly's been up and down. Toronto's been surprisingly well and kind of stuck in that 3 to 5 range all season long. The Knicks, we're talking about Karl Anthony Towns not fitting, not knowing his role, them going on huge losing streaks, and then turning around and winning 8 straight. So the only real consistent team has been the Pistons, but they are much more competitive. They are better than we gave them credit for in the beginning of this season. I just think there's been so much change and turnover in that Eastern Conference. And still, when we're comparing the conferences, if you look across the board, Pistons against the Thunder in a season, I'm going West. Spurs against the Celtics. It's a tough one, but I'm probably going San Antonio.
Wow.
Nuggets against the Knicks. I'm taking the Nuggets. Cavs against the Rockets. I'm probably taking the Rockets. The Lakers against the Sixers. The Raptors. Probably taking the Raptors. And Philly against the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm taking the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the Western Conference is still much better.
There were some surprises in there, Chandler. I felt that the whole segment.
I don't know if I totally agree with Chandler on all of those picks.
Boston, San Antonio's tough one. Like
no, don't get me wrong. I love that you said San Antonio, but I don't know that a lot of people would agree with you, which is
you just breezed past that one. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I said that one. That one. Let's call that one a pick 'em. So what?
I also hate that I'm wearing green right now.
You also said Philly and who else?
Philly would play Minnesota.
You just went through that one.
Come on, what are we doing?
Oh,
Lakers, Toronto.
We can't say Joel Embiid, when available, is one of the best players in the world and then just breeze past him in the playoff series. Come on, man.
No,
did do
I'm
that.
Just saying.
Did breeze.
And the play-in in the West is.
Well, maybe you were just talking fast, but you just made it sound like these were just shoe-ins. Maybe
like they were facts. So you just said facts.
I don't know.
Let's talk. You want to talk about the play-in? You Phoenix or Orlando?
I love it. Well, if Orlando could be healthy, that's the biggest thing.
Do you know what the
Franz
Clippers
Wagner news is bad.
Do you know what the Clippers would do to the Charlotte Hornets in a series? Like, what do we do?
You made that sound weird.
This is still much better.
Okay, fine. Look, I'm not sitting here arguing. I'm just saying you were very sure of yourself, and good for you.
I'm letting him stand on that by itself.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll mark it.
Whatever.
Okay, hold on. I have another. I'm not usually a stat person or a numbers person, but there's a few in today's show that are awesome, and this one I love. So, since 1980, teams who have reached 40 wins before they've reached 20 losses have gone on to win the title 90% of the time. 90. The Pistons and Thunder. They've already gotten there.
That's not
there
a
are
great
2 teams
stat.
left that could actually. Well, I love this stat. I just think it's fascinating.
Boston's got to come out swinging, go 5-0.
So Celtics are gonna. They're tough. Spurs and Celtics still have a shot. Spurs are 38-16, so they got a little bit of wiggle room. Celtics are sitting there at 35-19.
Hold on.
I don't think they're going to get it done.
The Nuggets could win their first 5, and the Rockets could win their first 7, right? Or you can't have 20.
Just stop. Okay, that's great. No, you can't get to 20 losses. Like you.
Oh yeah, so they're out. So really,
there are literally only 2 teams left: Spurs, Celtics. Spurs, I think. Well, I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say.
Nobody
but
really
how
cares
fascinating
about.
is that?
Nobody really cares about your record unless you're trying to break the record. Other than that, nobody really cares.
It's not about caring. It's just the simple fact that 90% of the time when you do this,
sure, but like
winner.
that's not like a great rule. Any team that wins 40 games before they lose is 20. That's a pretty good basketball team. So it's not like that's some kind of astonishing stat. Like, of course.
40. I think it's a pretty crazy stat, especially when you consider some of the teams that made it to the finals in years past, like that did not win. You're like, yeah, of course you didn't, because 42 of the last 46 did this.
Yeah, sure. But what I'm saying is we're not going to start counting who's getting the 40 first. Like nobody
I
pays
just
attention
did.
to that.
Sounds
So
this
I
is like
just,
when you're looking at the NFL playoffs and they kind of whittle it down to the last two. Have you ever seen that? And it's like, all right, this team before this date was this. This team's offensive rating has to be this. And then you cut it down to like the Broncos win the Super Bowl. And that happened this year too, and it didn't really pan out.
well, they lost their quarterback. Is pretty tough to
yeah,
have that
just
go
like
through.
good basketball teams are supposed to win the championship. Like that's how it goes. So the
Okay.
teams that win 40 before they lose 20, statistically, they're supposed to be the teams that's going to compete for a championship. I don't know.
Boy,
I need to check the
42
Spurs
out of
schedule real
46,
quick.
though. 42 out of 46 is nothing to snooze
Yeah, that
at.
just tells me it's no Cinderella
It's really
stories. The
not.
teams that's supposed to be there are there.
Let's see. The Spurs play the Suns tonight. Then they play the Kings. Ooh, they play the Pistons on Monday. That's a tough one. They got it tough. They can do it, but it's tough. All right, we're going to take a quick break. A ton more questions for the latter half of the season. I'm still working on that title when we come back.
Run it back, run it up, run it back.
Every season, I've decided to change it to, how about final third of the season? Is that okay, or should I keep working on it? I don't know. I can't tell if that works or not.
Second half is fine. Just second
No,
half.
it's not fine. It's mathematically inaccurate, and that gives my
But it's
heart
the-
and my
it's the
brain
second half.
palpitations. It's
second
really
half
not
of
the
the
second. It's mathematically not the second. Okay, you know what? In this final stretch,
There we
Lou
go.
Hey, Bill, you ever tore a cookie and you don't tear it in half like
drives me crazy.
perfectly?
Yeah,
You got one
drives-
half of the cookie and you got two
Nope.
halves. What half can
No.
be bigger than the other half?
Let me ask you this: if you're doing that with a
do it.
sibling, is there not a fight that breaks out after that because one's getting the
It
bigger
happened
piece?
in my house
That's-
yesterday with
Thank
a
you.
Rice Krispie treat.
Thank you. So it's not halves. It's definitely not halves.
Basically, Rocket
No, they were
cuts.
halves. It just wasn't
Rocket-
equal.
Rocket is cut and choose. Someone cuts, and then the other person gets to choose. So you better cut it equal.
By the way, are we gonna get to the LeBron cookie thing? Because now that we got cookies on my mind, we're gonna get to it at some point. But whatever. I have OCD, Lou, and this gives me craziness when we say second half. But that being said, Pacers last year, that was one of the best stories in sports last season. They were sort of a surprise out of nowhere, if you will. Are we looking at any teams this year, like maybe starting to play with the idea that we'll have one of those again this season? Lewis,
Cleveland.
I'm thinking.
stop with what is going on with you in Cleveland?
Well, I'm not going to look at the standings and be like Minnesota. I think like Minnesota could
but
make a real run.
Cleveland is now favored to come out of the East, though it doesn't feel like that would be an out of nowhere.
Yeah, you're right. I changed my mind.
Then they-
Minnesota.
Thank you.
I think Minnesota's dangerous. I think Minnesota can defend. They're a really
Sheesh.
good team. They're tested playing in the Western Conference all year long. Anthony
That's
Edwards has been outrageous. Julius Randle, we haven't even talked about him a lot.
At all.
He's having a hell of a year. He could have been an all-star, averaging 22 and 7 and 6. So he's been consistent. They have size. They have depth. They add AO
Okay.
at the deadline too, which I think helps them in their overall just kind of what they're building. Chris Finch is a great coach. I think if I had to pick one team, not the favorite in the Eastern Conference, it's going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves.
It's just it's a glitch.
I like Minnesota.
Lou? You
I
do?
like Minnesota. I got one for you. I like the Sixers.
I was
Give me
gonna
the-
say, okay.
Give me the Sixers. I
big.
think the Sixers are poised for a great run in the second half of the season. Look, say what you want. Paul George is gonna come back well rested. He's gonna come back well
Yeah.
rested and ready to go. He's gonna have fresh legs. He's gonna be ready to play. VJ just came out of the All-Star break with some new experiences. He's gonna have more confidence. The way Tyrese Maxey was playing in the All-Star game, that's gonna be confident. And we got to talk about the big fella. We got to talk about Joel. He's been available. He's been hooping. All of these things are because to get him to the playoffs, to get him in a position where he can be available for great and deep playoff runs. I think that's the team that's going to be poised to make some noise in the East. So sleeper picks, give me Philly in the East. If it got to come out of the West, I like Minnesota as well with Chandler. Teams that are right there in that 5 or 6 spot that we're kind of overlooking but got enough to compete at a high level, those are going to be the 2 teams for me. But if I'm picking
big
one, Philly for sure, out of everybody.
That would be shocking. That would be shocking. So yeah, I
Philly.
could see that. Okay. All right. Bucks. Look, Giannis has been on some weird ass press tour that I will not be able to understand anytime soon. That being said, 23
I
and
still
30.
don't understand it.
I don't know what he's doing, but they're 12th in the East. Tanking has been a really big conversation at the end of All-Star weekend into like today. What do you think, Chandler? Just keep trying, or I hate to say it, but tank.
I know, and I hate tanking, and I'm so glad that these teams are getting fined and even more consequences possibly to come. But they have no shot. They're not a playoff team. They're probably not even a play-in team, which is crazy to say about a roster that has Giannis Antetokounmpo on that team. And it's a shame. And I thought they also were a team that had high expectations. But like if the Thunder are elite statistically, this team is one of the worst statistical teams. They are bottom 5 in all of the stats that matter. They can't score. They can't defend. They can't rebound. They are the worst free throw shooting team, which a lot of that goes on Giannis, but they're dreadful. And I hate to see it because they have a lot of players that other teams would love. Like a lot of teams would love Bobby Portis on their team, and they go and add a Cam Thomas. Made no sense to me. I don't know why he wouldn't just go to like a contender and be a bucket off the bench. Now you're going to go to the Bucks and almost make them win some games when he goes and has 30, 40 points and has big games like he did in Orlando a couple weeks ago and help them win. They're just kind of in no man's land. Like it's I don't want to say tank because again, that's also not right, but they shouldn't win. And I think they should just continue doing what they're doing. And anytime you have Giannis on the floor, you have a chance, but this has been a very disappointing season. The only bright spot all year has been Ryan Rollins. So I think they found their point guard moving forward. But outside of that, the Kuzmas, the Bobby Portis, the Kevin Porter, those guys are all trade assets, and I think there's going to be a huge turnover in Milwaukee.
I say make a push. I say make a push only because as this team as we know it, we're not going to see this group again after this season. How they're built now with the pieces that they have and having the identity, this is going to be their last hurrah. So with that being said, make a push. Now, I don't think making a push is realistic for them. I think they're a team that's more likely to tank and look to the future. Like I don't think they get past Atlanta to get in the play-in. I don't think they get past a Miami. I don't think they get past a Charlotte. I don't think they get past a Chicago to put themselves in a conversation of possibly making a play-in and getting that last playoff spot. I don't think they override any of those teams. I don't think they outcompete any of those groups. So for that reason, it's logical for them to tank and try to figure out what they got to move forward for the future. But if I'm looking around the locker room and I care about the guys to my left and my right, and I want to compete with this group as it stands one last time, you got to make a push. That's the only reason I'm saying that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like that. This over the weekend, or I guess the last few days, I'm confused. I keep thinking it's Monday. Dave McMenamin reporting the Lakers would actually welcome LeBron back for for another season. Interesting. We've had all these weird reports come out, the relationship between he and Jeannie Buss. I think most of us have sort of resigned to the idea that he won't be in Los Angeles next season. Lou, what'd you make of this reporting?
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be open to it, and I also think the Lakers understand that will probably be his last season. That's what a lot of the signs point to, and so for that, if he's going to be celebrated, if it's going to be a farewell tour, and there's going to be a lot of attention around it, I think the Los Angeles Lakers would like that attention. I think they would want that to be a part of their legacy moving forward, and also based on the stats, he's still giving you valuable minutes where he can help you win basketball games. Until that changes, I think one of the teams that he can help do that is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, all signs do point to him returning to Cleveland, and that'll be a feel-good story. And also, that's somewhere where they still can have an opportunity to compete for a championship. They feel like with the group that they would have out in Ohio. I still like that as well. But if the Lakers are open to bringing him back, I think this wins. But we also know that LeBron James is always in control of his destiny and how things go. He has the no trade clause, so they couldn't trade him. And he has an opportunity to walk away as a free agent in this summer. So it's going to go his way. And I think the Lakers are going to be on the short list of teams that he would consider, based on Bronny still being there, based on that being, somewhere that he's called home for the last, 7 or 8 seasons. I think they're still in the conversation and still in LeBron James for another year.
Yeah, and I think most importantly, like Lou said, he's still really good. The guy, I don't care how I don't look at 41 years old. I look at 33 minutes a game and 22, 7, and 6. Like this guy is still an elite basketball player. And yes, he's missed some time, he's missed some games. That's natural with where he's at in his career. But the writing's on the wall to me to Cleveland. And you see there that Wendy, who's been always been his boy, 99% likelihood of LeBron returning to Cleveland if he accepts pay cut and he joins that team that could be a real contender. By the way, they did just trade their starting small forward, DeAndre Hunter, and made room for a big athletic wing like LeBron James. And you go and add a James Harden. I think that is attractive to LeBron. I think he's more likely to win a championship with that roster in Cleveland than this current roster in LA. So I just
You feel like that's based on the conference?
Based on the conference, just based on that roster. Like I think Cleveland's a better team than the Lakers. I really do. So like if you could join that team, and obviously the Lakers would make moves, they would fill that hole with other players as well. So they're going to make some subs in there too. But if it's his last year for sure, Cleveland just makes sense. It's where it started. Let it in there.
It's like a movie. It's almost too. It's almost too movie-like.
Let them win a championship too.
Stop. Just settle down. I really need you to settle down. You're like
that would be a hell of a story though if LeBron goes back to Cleveland and.
It's just not happening. By the way, we now know that while he was getting all better with the sciatic nerve, that he gave up wine and chocolate chip cookies, y'all. I'm not a big chocolate chip cookie person, but I don't know. Any vices that you two would have to give up to make amends with the injury gods?
Not that I can talk about on here, but
okay,
cookies and wine, those are tough too to shake. I'll say that.
I don't think every chocolate chip cookie is a good cookie. I got to be honest. I mean, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but they're not.
But the goods are great.
It's pretty bad ones.
Like ice cream is tough. Like coffee for me would be a killer. Like there's a bunch of stuff.
No, I don't have that vice. Oh, you know what? Peach gummies. I should give that up. Jeez, I'm eating a bag a day.
I didn't give up nothing. My body ran off 87 my whole career, so I didn't give up nothing. I was blessed in that area. I was able to eat whatever I wanted to eat.
Lou, you're acting like you don't have vices.
LeBron James either, so that's that.
Sleep, like sleep. I need sleep, or else, you know what I mean. Like if I would actually sleep early, I would be a completely different person.
Sleep.
I didn't fall in love with sleep until I retired. So that was considered
a luxury. Weird. One day we're gonna have a whole hour. We don't even have a rundown. We're just gonna have a conversation.
I have to agree with you, Beadle. I'm different. What do you mean you say?
I'm built different. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. On the other side, Rich Paul's talking about best player currently. We'll get to that next.
Run it up, the running back.
So when asked who the best player in the league today is, Rich Paul said Anthony Edwards. Lou, are you surprised by that answer? You think there's something else going on here, or he genuinely believes that?
Genuinely believe. I believe that, right? Like, do we not feel like Edwards is one of the best players in the NBA? And so
one of them, sure.
One of them, yes. That I do. Yes.
Well, I think
the best.
Some people are gonna say he is the best player, depending on who you ask. And so I don't look at it any different with Rich Paul saying it. So, you know, a lot of us feel this way. So I'm buying this sentiment. A lot of us put Ant-Man in the conversation as one of the best players. We've had this conversation whether he's gonna be the face of the league and this and that. That comes with a certain level of respect. So I don't look at this any different as Rich Paul. I went to the All-Star game the other day, sat close to Ant-Man's his family and his agent, and everybody looked like they doing just fine. Everybody looked like they were happy and enjoying each other. And so, you know, for that to be even in play, there got to be some tension or something there. I didn't sense any of that at all. It looked like Ant-Man is in good hands. I think this is Rich Paul just showing proper respects and speaking outside of him being an agent and just a fan of the game. I think this is what he's saying. So I'm buying.
Breaking news: Anthony Edwards signs with Clutch Sports.
But by the way, I'm almost positive Rich Paul used to represent, and then Anthony Edwards went to WME like not that long ago, like a year or two ago. So
there you go.
So
I'll tell you that,
and you rarely go back. So there you go.
If you told me he's one of the best,
not often.
If you told me,
are we still talking about basketball? Let's go.
I don't think so. If you told me he's one of the best, I would 1,000% get behind that and agree with it. He's one of the most fun personalities, players. but everyone knows it's SGA and Jokic are the best players in the NBA. And again,
rude.
you can say what you want about Anthony Edwards. He is fantastic. There's some other guys too I would probably put ahead of him and like the rankings of the current NBA players. So I think he is one of them. I think he's more so the face of the NBA than the best player in the NBA, if that makes sense.
Oh, I like that.
Well, you can't have one without the other, can you?
Yeah, like Jokic is the best player, but he's not the face. Like
He's
I don't
not.
think
Not here.
Right, but you have to be in that conversation to even be considered as the face. Like we're never gonna say like a fourth or fifth man on a team is gonna be the face of the NBA, no matter how entertaining.
Don't you agree that
he is.
he's just like more popping than SGA somehow, but he's not as good as like he's not like I still would rank
Well, he's just got a lot more.
It was a very short time ago that we were making the case that he was the face of the NBA, and it was his turn to have a coming out party. I don't think much has changed.
He didn't want to be.
Yeah, I don't think much has changed.
Just like he said, he wasn't going to try at the
conversation.
All-Star game, and then he's the MVP. Like he's funny.
Again, I don't even need to name other names. We all know who the top players in the NBA are. He is definitely one of them.
Who's the best player in the All-Star game?
Anthony Edwards.
Kawhi Leonard.
And Wemby. And Wemby. I big argue for that.
Anthony
We're
Edwards
counting
was
the
best
least
player.
competitive game on the planet as a
I'm
thing
asking
to-
you a question.
Dare
We
you.
had all the best players in the world, and who was the person that stood out?
SGA didn't even play, and Jokic didn't bother. So,
Sure.
yeah, this is fair. This is fair. Oh, and by the way, or Luka for that matter, now that we're here.
My point being is, depending on who you ask, it's an opinion-based question. Everybody
like
has
it.
their opinion. What I'm saying is, it's not like outrage for people to say Ant Edwards in this conversation. That's all I'm saying.
No. Yeah, it's not
I'm
crazy talk.
I'm not mad at it. I just simply think he's wrong.
That's the beauty of an opinion. That gets the people
Lou,
talking.
SGA or Ant right now, who's better? Stop.
I'm not fighting it, Chandler. What I'm saying is, I understand his opinion. That's it.
Who would
We
you
all have
rather
different
watch?
opinions.
Different question.
We all
That's
have
a different
different. We all
question.
have different opinions. If you ask Beadle, she's probably gonna say Wemby. If you
How
ask
dare you?
yourself,
You don't know
you're
me.
probably gonna say Jokic. I'm probably gonna say SGA. Everybody's gonna have a difference in opinion, and none of us are gonna be wrong.
I'm glad you're bringing this up, guys, because it's a segue into my next one. Because the Athletic
I love a
actually
good
pulled some
segue.
players. You love a segue. Players were polled about the best players in the league. Here we go with the opinions. First three are the exact guys that we just mentioned: Jokic, SGA, and Luka. However, in the fourth spot, Donovan Mitchell, Chandler. I mean, there's a little surprise in my voice for a reason. What do you think?
Again, whoever's
Here it is.
they're not
Opinion.
wrong. Like I love Donovan Mitchell, but no, I'm putting Anthony Edwards, I'm putting Giannis, I'm putting Wemby, I'm putting Cade, I'm putting a bunch of other players probably above Donovan Mitchell. That's not an insult to him. I think he's unbelievable. He's been so good and so consistent his whole career. I'm actually really shocked by this. Like I would think that the perfect
so too.
spot for like a Giannis or a Anthony Edwards. Like I again,
Who's the best player in the NBA right now, Chandler?
Jokic.
Exactly. And he's number 2 in MVP rankings and all of these things. So again, when you have a class of guys from 1 through 5, it's okay for it to be a difference in opinion when you
But
have these
Donovan
guys.
Mitchell, Lou?
I'm
That
not
was
making a
not
case
on
for
the
Donovan
list.
Mitchell. I'm still on the Ant-Man thing. Now, Donovan Mitchell, I probably wouldn't put him. I probably wouldn't put him fourth.
I think he'd
but
be
that's
around
the
like
respect of
10
his
or
peers.
11. I think he'd be like 10 or 11, Lou.
I think that's fair.
Who?
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell.
Oh yeah. I'm with y'all on
Hold
that
up,
one. I
Chandler.
thought-
You've got Cleveland going to the finals. All of a
and I
sudden,
wouldn't
Donovan
put him.
Mitchell's not
Hold
good
on,
enough.
I wouldn't put him 10 or 11 either. But I also wouldn't put him fourth.
Would you put him
Let me
8?
just-
Let's just guess.
Let me go.
I would put
Let's
him.
do it. Go.
For me, it'll
me go.
be SGA. It'll be Jokic. It'll be Luka for me. Then Ant-Man. It'll be Cade. And then we can start having a conversation about the Giannis's, the Donovans,
Wemby,
and those type of guys.
Giannis.
Wemby's
Yeah,
for
you
me.
totally left Wemby out.
I'm probably taking
I
Jalen
don't
Brown over
have.
Donovan Mitchell.
I still think there's a learning curve for Wemby. I still think there's a lot for him to
Well,
accomplish.
that's
There's
scary
a
for the
learning
rest
curve
of you
there.
guys.
Absolutely, but absolutely. I think right now we're ranking Wemby in the top 5 based on what we see down the line and the potential that he has. I don't think he's actually doing it at this moment. I think
Okay.
what we're seeing is for the future, for like a 10-year straight run, yes, Wemby. But right now, I got 4 or 5 guys playing better basketball than Wemby right now.
Man.
So this not even about Wemby. So I know the Wemby stands are gonna go crazy. But for my personal top 5,
Get him.
he's not in it right now for the best
I think
players.
today I have to rank Jaylen Brown higher than Donovan Mitchell.
Absolutely.
Like
What
I
about
have to.
Jalen Brunson? I'm putting Jalen Brunson. I think it's
I
disrespectful.
think they're very similar. I think.
So
I
now
think
y'all
they're-
want to debate all of these different guys, but I was crazy
Yes.
when I said that, man.
Yes, we do want to do that. We
Yes.
want to debate them all.
exactly.
Now
what
we are
we're
very confused.
This is crazy. This is
The
insane.
announcement came. By the way, we had a lot of injury announcements, a lot of done for the seasons coming out. I don't know if this one's shocking necessarily, but Kyrie Irving announcing that he's not going to come back this season. He's going to just take it all of this time to get as perfect as possible. What do you think, Lou? That's interesting timing, no? Interesting timing.
No,
Dallas.
like what would you get out of it? Except the fact that Kyrie would be able to get some reps in, but we know he can play basketball. We know he's going to be able to come back and be a player that's gonna be able to be successful. And so if you're not going to put your team in a position to be successful, if they can't win, if you can't make a playoff run, if you can't play meaningful games, if I'm Kyrie Irving, I'm just going to continue to rehab and make sure I'm 100% healthy going into the summer, where I can kind of stay in my routine and get prepared for the next season. And so I think the timing was just right after the All-Star break, because that's when those questions are going to start being asked, right? We're going to start asking, well, when is Kyrie coming back? It's All-Star break is over and all of that. So before we start even having that dialogue, let's just nip this in the bud, and I'm not coming back, especially with a team that I don't know what my future looks like. I don't know if I'm going to even be in this uniform next year. I know we can't make the playoffs. Do the pros beat the? Yeah, like do the pros outweigh the cons? And right now, it don't look like they do. So I'm not mad
That's
at
a
this at
long
all.
time, though.
It's
March
a
to next
time.
October is.
But I'm
It's a
not mad
smart
at it.
business. It's a smart business move, right? Why come back? Like they're not even going to make the play in. There's nothing to play for. It's definitely a form of tanking, because I think if they're on the cusp there, he would definitely play. I think he is ready to play, but at his age and his stature, it makes zero sense to come back to this team.
All right, fair enough. We'll come back and wrap things up on the other side.
The running back, run it up, the running back.
I got last one for you guys. Jeff Teague said Dame's the second best shooter of all time. You buying that, Lou?
All these opinions, Lou.
It's too many opinions for me today. We can make a case for Dame being the second best shooter of all time. We can make that case.
I can make a case for liver tasting good. That's not the question.
Listen, he's up there, and with what he did in the 3-point contest too, he now holds the record with Larry and Craig. Like
Second best.
But I don't even have those two.
do.
I don't even have those two in my top 10. I have, this Clay, Ray Allen, Reggie, Peja, like Kyle Korver. Like but Dame is in that conversation, and he's clutch, and he does it off the screen, off the dribble.
That conversation is not the same as second best of all time. That is not how this works.
Game winners, one directly in my eyeball.
I don't have an educated opinion. I don't have an educated opinion on this. I got to run the numbers.
Yeah, I don't want to have an opinion on an opinion.
Okay, well, Lou's going to run the numbers, and
I think Klay Thompson. I think when I think best shooters, I think 1 Steph, 2 Klay.
So we're not buying it. Okay, but it's not. How about this? We're not buying it.
I
But
don't
it's
know.
not crazy.
I'm just not ready to buy right now.
Not outrageous.
I'm glad we have games back. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
You still did the countdown.